puppets that aren't funny, playing records.
But it's totally original. I mean, no one's ever done it. I'm not like everyone else.
That was his magic, is kind of like, well, everybody's playing football. He was a kid off, you know, like talking to voices in the trees. Part of that made him so creative and so free in his mind, but it was also a way to get them to stop playing football and come over and see how special he was.
What Jim Carrey revered most about Kaufman was a quality he saw lacking in himself.
I loved his commitment, the commitment to go out there on a limb and never let anybody in on the joke. That's the part I admired because, you know, my whole life I've always done things that are obviously a joke and like gone like, do you like me? You know, that kind of thing. And so people like that fascinate me, you know, somebody who doesn't seem to need that.
Well, everybody else gets this place cooking.
It was cooking. I thought it was cooking. There was a man over here that was really upset.
Yeah, he stormed out and a lot of other people left in the middle of your act. I can't sell booze to people that are walking out.
It's just about booze. It's not about comedy. It's not about art. That's all it's about.
I can't sell booze when you're singing.
Just want to sell booze. That's all that matters.
Kaufman was never too concerned with his public approval rating. Semi-reformed bad girl Courtney Love played Andy's girlfriend Lynn Margulies and felt a special bond with a late comic.
Here was a guy who didn't care if all of America hated him. Now, I had a little phase with that. I really didn't like it. I needed to go reform because I hated it. I didn't like it at all.
So you just pretend to be an ass?
That's what I'm good at.
I asked Lynn, who I was playing, like, what were you guys thinking? You know, people are spitting him on the street and, you know, it terrified me when stuff like that happened to me, and I was like rebel girl and whatever. And she said, we thought it was really funny. And I felt like such a wuss.
Want to go to Memphis and get married?
Do I want to go to Memphis and get married?
Mm-hmm.
Why Memphis?
Because Memphis is the wrestling capital of the world. I'll get up in the ring and I'll announce that I'll marry the first woman who beats me. Then you can get up and we'll wrestle and I'll let you win.
You'll let me win?
I'll let you win. I'll let you. And then we'll run off and we'll get married on the David Letterman show.
God.
Okay?
Danny DeVito was uniquely qualified to produce the film. He spent 8 years playing taxi boss Louie to Andy's loopy Latka on the hit show Taxi.
I shall fly through my day, knowing what awaits me.
And I shall puke my guts out.
In Man on the Moon, Danny cast himself as Andy's manager, George Shapiro.
Hey, I really enjoyed your set. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. I really like what you did out there.
Thank you very much.
So, I understand you're from Lithuania.
No, I am from Caspiar.
Caspiar, huh?
It is a very small island in the Caspian Sea. It sunk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, look, probably out of my mind, but I think you're very interesting. And if you ever need representation, we should talk.
Okay.
Mr. Shapiro. Wow. It is an honor, sir.
Caspiar, huh?
Producer DeVito and director Milos Forman weren't exactly strangers. Before Man on the Moon, DeVito got his break in Forman's 1975 Looney Bin classic, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. When the two met up at a Hollywood party, they got the ball rolling.
And this was like 5 years ago. It was Michael Douglas's birthday party, and Danny's there.
And Milos and I were smoking a stogie and having a drink, and I'm blabbing about Andy and all the crazy stuff that happened on the show. And he kept talking and wanting to know more and more about Andy. So I was telling him what I knew, you know, what was my impression of him and things. And he said, Danny, we should make this movie.
It was more than 25 years ago when the director got his first taste of Andy Kaufman.
And here came this guy on the stage. And the first few minutes, and I was not alone, I was sweating for him. I felt so sorry for him. My God, this guy believes that he can make it in show business. And then the most strange thing happened. He was not doing anything different. A few minutes later, and again I was not alone. I was on the floor laughing, and I didn't know why. And I don't know till today.
Around the same time, a young Michael Stipe caught on to Andy's genius.
The first time that I became aware of Andy Kaufman was, I guess, his first ever TV performance. In 1975, I was 15 years old, and I saw him he lip-synced to the Mighty Mouse theme song.
Mr. Trouble never hangs around when he hears this mighty sound. Here I come to save the day.
And I don't know why, but it just struck me at the time as one of the most audacious and weirdest things I'd ever seen. And I followed his career very closely from that day forward.
REM's Man on the Moon from Automatic for the People helped raise Kaufman consciousness, and it also raised the specter of what some still insist is Andy's biggest hoax, his death from cancer in 1984.
When he passed away, I didn't believe he was gone. I was one of the people who said, come on. You know, he's pulled the wool over my eyes so many times during the 5 years that we were on Taxi. This guy's not dead. There is no way he's dead.
It was all part of Michael's lyrical plan to create an allegorical heaven and use Andy and Elvis as people that were immortal because nobody believed they were really dead, even though they were.
Being fans of both of those guys to one degree or another, especially Andy, this is like a nice little tribute.
Jim Carrey's uncanny portrayal of Andy Kaufman borders on channeling. Many of the scenes from the comedian's life were recreated using some of Kaufman's actual colleagues.
No, listen to me. There's a drug in those cookies.
No. Assembled the cast and the crew and other people, and they were all Andy Kaufman aficionados. And that helped because that gives an energy and, on the set.
With Andy's inner circle and the comedy world keeping close tabs on him, Carrey felt more than the usual pressure to be true to his subject.
I felt so responsible for this. I mean, I'm a comedian, and Andy's looms large in that world. And so if I screwed this up, I'd never be able to walk into a comedy club again.
You show a lot of promise, and my concern is I don't know where to book you. So help me. Where do you see yourself?
Well, I've always wanted to play Carnegie Hall.
That's funny.
See, I don't want to go for cheap laughs. I want real gut reactions. I want the audience to have gone through an experience. They love me, they hate me, they walk out. It's all great.
Piecing together Andy's personality from first-hand accounts proved to be a slippery task.
Everybody's, but who was the real Andy Kaufman? I asked this question to the people who are the closest to him. Who was the real Andy Kaufman? And I always got the same answer. There was no real Andy Kaufman. Nobody knew real Andy Kaufman. He was performing all the time. The whole world was his stage.
Choosing REM to score the film was another gamble. The band had never delved into soundtracks before. It was a well-calculated risk.
I had heard that someone had written a script about Andy Kaufman called Man on the Moon, and I was kind of honored.
REM, all those guys are, well, obviously, huge fans of Andy Kaufman. They wrote Man on the Moon, which we took the title of that song for our movie.
I then got a phone call from Milos Forman, and he called to say, I want your band to score my movie.
I was a little nervous because they never scored the film, and it's a different kind of animal, scoring than just, writing songs.
Well, you tried to get in Andy's head a little bit when you write the score.
The best music in a film is one that just kind of seamlessly helps move the characters through their stories.
I was very impressed. They are bright, brilliant guys, down to earth, very intelligent, and I just love the music they brought. I love it.
But of course Milos is going to get REM. Why would he not? He gets me. Do you know what I mean? For someone who's in his 60s from Czechoslovakia, that guy is hipper than anyone I know. It's so cool.
to write towards someone else's artistic vision instead of our own. It was really a challenge. I'm thrilled with the way it came out.
REM has carved out a niche, penning Andy Kaufman tributes. Their latest single, The Great Beyond, is a sequel of sorts to Man on the Moon.
It's hard to write, it's hard to write two great songs about the same guy. But I think we did a good job. A lot of it is about kind of really breaking down the fourth wall, which is what we're doing, what we're recreating in this video.
Hollywood and vinyl. Jim Carrey took months to research Andy Kaufman's every idiosyncrasy, making sure to capture his look and mannerisms before embarking on the role. But there was even more madness to his method acting.
Thank you very much.
You never, nobody, if you called him on the stage, hey, Jim, he wouldn't even react. He wouldn't even flinch. We had to call him, hey, Andy.
Well, there was no moment where Jim is going to be working in a special way, so we'd love it if you could refer to him. None of that went on. It wasn't expected, but if they asked Jim Carrey a question, they wouldn't get an answer. So I guess they had to work how they had to work.
Jim only came to the set twice in all the 4 months we filmed the movie. Jim was only there 2 days. So someday I want to really get to work with Jim Carrey.
Andy showed up, and people just went with it.
The first few days, it was pretty irritating, but then, strangely enough, I enjoyed the game.
Since you've all been such good boys and girls, I would like to take everybody in this entire audience out for milk and cookies. There are buses outside. Everybody, follow me!
The game took a bizarre turn when Jim Carrey split his personality yet again, bringing to the set Andy's Vegas-style alter ego, the motel lounge act known as Tony Clifton. Kaufman would assume the Tony Clifton character on stage when he wanted to swap his passive shtick for something more aggressive.
To deal with Andy, that was nice, although sometimes he was stubborn. But Tony Clifton was a nightmare. The first day he came on the set, right? I say, hey, hello, how are you, Tony? He looked at me, who are you? I said, well, I am the director of this film. Oh, yeah? What did you direct?
Yeah, he's full of himself, belligerent, he liked women. So he would come on to every woman that walked on the set. He didn't like the guys, he would bring flowers for the women and give us grief.
I had to ask Jim to meet him on weekend as Jim. And then we discussed Tony. And I told him, Jim, can you talk to Tony? Well, I don't know. Tony's difficult.
He found a way to play a character himself, to direct the two characters. He had different politics for you, and he learned their politics. He went up to Andy like a kid show host and like a little boy, and it wasn't just going to be fun, and he'd get Andy all excited, and Tony, he would have to bolster his ego and, say, you are the king of the mountain.
Man on the Moon may just be Andy Kaufman playing one last naughty prank. There's one thing that can't be denied. Andy lives.
I think Andy's looking down on us, or I always thought he's always hovering somewhere.
People felt really connected to him.
I'm still expecting him to show up. As a matter of fact, in the middle while I was making the movie, I started getting paranoid.
I think Andy would enjoy it. I think he would enjoy it very much.